Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm back again. It's Robert Phoenix, 901 on this Monday morning, the 13th of April, coming off a 2.5 hour Sunday Night Astro Live last night, and feeling pretty good today. It's a beautiful day out there. It's a wonderfully beautiful, slightly windy, springy day out in the world. Let's see how everybody's doing today. If we have anybody in the halls of Chatlandia. Let's see. We got me. We got two people. All right. We'll just wait for folks to show up. Monday we get a little bit later start because I like to kind of chill on the Monday mornings. There's FUP. What's happening, FUP? FUP 77. There's Leanne. Hey, Leanne. Nice to see you. I'm going to try to find a few links here so I can entertain you and hopefully throw a little education into the experience. Let's see what we got. Got all my links from last night still up here, but I got some new stuff too. I got some new stuff. Let's see what we got. Got that. Okay. All right. Let's see. So, Bill Gates is catching a lot of heat. A lot of heat. If you haven't seen his Instagram page, I'm going to show you. It is a thing of beauty, I have to say. A thing of absolute and utter beauty. People are starting to finally wake up here. It's taken us about 4 weeks or 5 weeks to be thrown into this comatose state. Oh, look who's here. I thought you were resting. He says, there's no rest for me. My public needs me. Come on, let's go. Come on. You can make it. You can make it if you try. You can do that. Oh, he barely makes it. He barely makes it. All right. uh, this is great. You guys just got to see this. I just got to start off with this. This is fantastic. Let me check in with you guys. Have you seen the page yet? Hey, Jennifer, nice to see you. Cindy, what's going on? Justin, Sherry, all the way from Manchester, home of the Stone Roses, and Ian Brown. Nice to see you, Sherry. Others see what's going on, Steve, JMP, and Mary, and Diana. And let's see, there's Joe. Hey, Joe, Isla. Who else did I miss out? Mojo Mama. There's Joan S. Natalie Remington. Hello, Natalie Remington. Good to see you. Uncle Glenn's in the house. All right. There's Justice Moody. Luann. Hey, Luann. Good to see you. All right. Let's get to it. Let's get to the Bill Gates stuff. If you haven't seen this already, it is definitely you got to go to his Instagram page. Just follow his Instagram page. This is the best thing I've seen in the whole year. So here's this putz. Thank you, healthcare workers. I'm in my little glass bubble. I'm the man in the bubble. The boy in the bubble. Look at these comments. This is great. This is Bill Gates. Thank you to all of you all the healthcare workers who are making heroic efforts to test and treat patients across the United States and the world. And here come the comments. They can't keep us quiet. We don't consent. What the elites have been afraid of for so long is finally happening. We are waking up. I've been awake, but now thousands, not millions, are joining. The gig is up. We know. We will not consent. We will not back down. Soon you won't be able to walk down the street. Fucking vaccines in Russia. What else do we have here? Greece. We won't get vaccinated. None of us. Let's see. Yo, Gates, how much you going to make from your vaccine? Which third world country is your test lab? Ha ha ha. Loving these comments. It brings me comfort that people are waking up and seeing the truth. We will only get louder and louder until you're gone. We do not want a vaccine from a man who doesn't even know how to defeat viruses from his own man-made system. Way to delete our comments, Bill. The people in the world are awake. You can't hide it. Telling this man what we think about his vaccines, chip, or 5G is not doing anything for us. We need to post these comments all over again. And they will make the biggest impacts as a presidential press. Yeah, this is a big deal. This is a really big deal. Like, this is something that Tucker Carlson should be covering. Like, people, like mainstream media should be covering this right now. And I really don't care if they try to turn it or spin it into, the vaccine conspiracy. There he is, the beast, El Bistro, Jasper. No, he was having such a nice little time on the bed with Rosie, but he's just so dedicated to everybody. Your ship is sinking. You should have stuck to computers. This is great. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Let's see right here. Okay, whatever. Just keep telling this guy. Just keep laying it on him. Lay the lumber on him. Just lay the lumber. 1,785,160 views. I'm guessing that 1,785,000 are probably a version of what I just read to you. Thank you, healthcare workers. What a joke. Absolute joke. The gig is up, man. The gig is up and the jig is up. It's over. Now, this is not a victory, but I'll take it. I'll take it. Cue up Todd Rundgren. Give us just one victory. All right, let me check in with you guys in chat. See, what are your thoughts on all this stuff? What's going on at Eagle ZXZ? Do you believe there's such a thing as a virus? Only exosomes released so becomes toxic. I think that there's something going on that is I think we're kind of dealing with a predatory nanomacrophage. That's what I think. If you had an army of bots deleting comments, they could not keep up with all that. I know, right? I know. We're the journalists on this. We are the journalists. Hey, what's going on, Ellis? We are the journalists. That's what we are. Miss you, Unc. Chat needs some Unc. Yeah, I know, right? Didn't see Uncle Glenn last night. Yeah. You got a little bit of fan club there, Glenn. That's really great. There's Mary Black. Good morning, Mary. So the word is out on the streets that Bill Gates does not have your best interest at heart. People are waking up. Cats are waking up. Did you know that Jasper is leading a cat awakening? He's totally leading a cat awakening. There are millions of cats across the world who are following Jasper's lead and lending their powers of enlightenment to their humans. Isn't that right, Jasper? He's feeling feisty today. Watch. This is what happens with Jasper. I pet him, right? Sometimes he wants to bite me. I'm sorry. After doing 2.5 hours last night, I'm a little punchy. I just kind of want to have some fun this morning because it's not. We're living in an environment and a reality that is not all that fun in some ways. Although I do my best to enjoy it and make light of the situation. Well, Bill Gates is not the only person who's connected to this scandalous affair known as the coronavirus. Mr. Anthony Fauci is starting to take some Fahrenheit, some high Fahrenheit as well. Let me show you. If you haven't followed this piece, I'll show you this little tasty nugget here. The turf war between Trump and Fauci is getting hotter. Trump, let's see, I got to find this. Trump retweeted a tweet that there was somebody in kind of the journalist, alternative media, right? Journalist, alternative media. and they were saying that Fauci should be kicked out, and um, Trump retweeted it. Okay, Trump retweeted that tweet. Let me see if I can find it. Well, this is interesting. Oh, you guys got to see this. This is a crazy story. I had this last night up on my radar, and I'm glad it ran across my screen again. You got to see this. This is a version of the nutso world we're living in. This is some crazy shit. All right, this is a zero hedge piece. You got to see this. This is amazing. All right, Jasper, you're settling into fine form today as my co-host. I love your style today. Jasper's bringing his A game. Yeah. The big head. You have anything to say to people? Huh? You have anything to say to your fans? While I wait for this webpage to pop up. I feel like I'm on dial-up sometimes. I feel like I'm on Earthlink. All right, you guys got to see this. This is crazy. This is the type of just bizarre world we're living in now, and we got to find humor where we can. Courier with coronavirus samples crashes on I-95 in Massachusetts. Wait to hear this story. As the U.S. scrambles to ramp up both testing capacity. Oh, I don't want that. No. Please go away. Go away. As the U.S. scrambles to ramp up both testing capacity and the speed at which results are delivered, one courier in New England was perhaps taking this directive a little too seriously when he crashed on Interstate I-95 in Seekonk, Mass, near the Rhode Island border on Tuesday morning. However, in some long overdue good news, none of the test samples inside the car were damaged. Oh, like this is it. This is what we're pinning our hopes on, is some dude in a Honda Civic delivering coronavirus samples gets into a wreck, and somehow miraculously the samples are not spoiled by any chance. Like we're not having a 12 monkeys scenario quite yet. Right, you got to now it gets, but here the story gets weird. Massachusetts State Police sent a hazardous materials team to examine the samples, and the team determined they were not compromised. Oh, that's great. And the container holding them was intact. The courier was driving a Honda Civic. Bumped into a tractor trailer on the westbound side of I-95 at exit 1 at around 7:50 a.m. The contact caused the Honda to spin out and hit an ambulance carrying a 70-year-old patient. Fortunately, no one was. So think about that, right? So it bumps. Here we go. So it bumps a tractor trailer on the westbound of I-95 and spins out and hits an ambulance carrying a 70-year-old dude who's probably going to the hospital for some kind of coronavirus bullshit. I mean, just a clusterfuck of major proportions. The driver, a 49-year-old woman from Rhode Island, was taken to the hospital as a precaution for potential exposure to the virus. Another courier was called and ended up delivering the samples to their destination. It wasn't immediately clear if there was now an Uber driver service for coronavirus, although we are confident a light bulb was going off in the head of some cash-strapped San Francisco VC, or why couriers are carrying biohazard equipment are taking leisurely strolls in Honda Civics. Then again, imagine this woman was driving a Tesla. So that's really, I mean, think about that for a moment. There's no white van with hazardous waste material or any kind of a hazmat. No, it's some gal in a Honda Civic who's probably an Uber driver. I mean, why don't they just let the Domino's guy take the coronavirus samples to Rhode Island? Just let the Domino's guy do it and drop off a couple of pies while he's at it. I mean, we're supposed to be the most sophisticated, technologically advanced country in the world, and Some poor woman who's just trying to scrape by and make some money delivering potentially virulent strains of this thing, bounces off a tractor trailer and then hits an ambulance. And the guy in the ambulance is probably going to the hospital because he has underlying conditions, which are forced because you're not going to the hospital. You're not going to the hospital. Well, I take that back. My mother went to the hospital, but she might have had an underlying condition. I just thought that was funny as hell. Really, really funny. Would when long time ago when I was living in Berkeley, I've told this story before. I had a job briefly delivering bagels, and which I actually kind of liked in some ways. In other ways, I didn't like it. It was just a part-time thing. So I had this job delivering bagels, and I think I did it for about like 2 months or something. Learned the route and everything. Anyway, there was this guy who was the manager of the bagel shop. I think his name was Jamie, and he was a total freak. And the poor guy was like suffering from PTSD. He was one. You ever been around people that try too hard? They try too hard at being happy. They try too hard at being positive. Like they try so hard, it's almost painful to watch them. You've been around somebody like that? This guy was like, he was the epitome of that. It was like he was trying so hard to override his programming by being positive. His positivity was almost bordering on rage. It was like it was the weirdest thing, man. But he could snap too. Like he could really, really snap. And I just sit back and watch this guy. I'm like, what the fuck is going on in his head? So one day he tells me that he used to work for the CDC. He worked for the CDC, and he said, "You'll never." And he was like freaked out. He wasn't like cool about it. He was really freaked out. He's like, "You'll never, ever, ever believe what these people are carting around all the time. It's like I know what they did. I know what they did. I was part of it. They're trucking around viruses and germs and plagues, and nobody knows it. They're not even marked, and it's really out of control. It's really insane. It's really crazy." But but the way that he was telling me was like his eyes were bugging out and everything. It was that crazy, that wild. So maybe he was right. Maybe he was right. Maybe this is how they do it all the time. So you never know who's driving down the road and what they've got in their vehicle. They could be trucking around the next version of the bubonic plague. But to be fair, of course, we're dealing with this whole exosome theory and the excretion of toxins from the cells, which is very, very popular uh, sort of opinion or belief or point of view in the alternative circles. And I do believe that there's some truth and validity there. I mean, I think what we're dealing with, when the people are really super sick and something's really wrong with them, is that this is not a virus thing. I don't think it's a virus thing at all. I think it's kind of a very complex macrophage with some viral elements to it, some of the same viral elements that say HIV or even herpes might contain, but with twists, with twisted nano filament technology wrapped around it, which can be triggered by a signal. That's what I think we're dealing with. All right, coffee finished. Let's get to business. Let me check in with you guys. See what we got going here. Up, 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 up. Here we go. Glenn glanced at the book I read about Plum Island, said the same thing about pathogen transport. Yep. Mm-hmm. 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 That's kind of how kids learn. Go over and over until they're talking about repetition, being programmed. Yep. It sounds like a Monty Python skit. I know, right? So absurd and surreal. We're living in absurd and surreal times. Trump retweeted Fauci putting his head in his hands after Trump blatantly mentioned deep state on purpose. Yeah, have you guys Here, let me do this. Here, I'm going to do something here. So you want to know how quote unquote popular Fauci has become? Let me show you. Now remember, this is not something that happens in a bubble. It's kind of like when you have those massive protests and everybody has the coolest, neatest, most tricked out signs and they all look the same. It's like, gee, homegrown effort. No, homegrown effort be people with Sharpies. And the signs usually look like crap, but they're all perfectly cut, perfectly blocked out. They all somehow show up, right? So let me show you the developments around the myth of Tony Fauci. Look at all these shirts. You seen this? Cuomo Fauci 20. Dr. Fauci facepalm felt around the world. Dr. Fauci appreciation. WWFD. More Fauci and trust in Fauci. We trust faceplants. Cuomo Fauci. It's a Fauci thing. You wouldn't understand. Now we've got the Obama meme, Hope, Fauci 2020, and Fauci we trust. Fauci gang. Okay, so here's a really bizarre thought. A really bizarre thought. And I'm not sure it's going to happen, but could the Democrats actually be looking at Anthony Fauci as a presidential candidate to replace Joe Biden? Think about that for a moment. It may not be that far-fetched. How many people would go run out right now and vote for this little creep? Do you see what they're doing here? I mean, look at the variety. I mean, there's like at least 50 different shirts. Fauci, the real MVP, Fauci fan club. Look at all this. Shop Fauci t-shirts. Dr. Fauci, we love you. We love you. I love Dr. Fauci. I need a hero. Look, even the baby, Team Fauci. Keep calm and wash your hands. Are you guys surprised by this at all? And do you think, oh, look, now he's got a halo. Look at this. Fauci is my homeboy. And I've been looking at these shirts now for a couple of days, and there are new ones that I haven't seen before. There are new ones. Could somebody out there create a Fauci as a traitor t-shirt? Can somebody do that? Is that possible? So do you think that there is something more to this? Do you think that they're actually trying to position Fauci as potentially running against Trump? I mean, it's a thought. It's a thought. All right, watch this. Check this out. So you have Fauci. It's not just t-shirts, though. We got, check this out. Fauci mugs. So you can just continue to have Fauci love wherever you go. It's Fauci, Fauci, Fauci. Fauci all the time. Look at that. Look at that. You can wear your Fauci 2020. You see this? Do you see this? Do you think that this is just some kind of marketing ploy, or is there more to it than that? Oh, and you have Gupta, Fauci Gupta, Make America Healthy Again. Look, you even have the, whoops, sorry about that. You even have the votive Saint candle, Saint Anthony Fauci. Fauci mugs. And Etsy will have no problem. Look at this. Fauci President 2020. You got Fauci donuts. It's Fauci, Fauci, Fauci. Fauci socks. You could just if you could just adorn yourself with Fauci paraphernalia. There's so much Fauci out there. Here's another one. Although that looks like Mr. Rogers. That doesn't look like Fauci. So is I think Fauci is, by the way, the de facto president at this point, because he's basically said, well, we could come back here, we could come back then, we could come back at this point in time. So it feels like he's supplanted Trump in a lot of ways. This has been a genius move on the part of the Democrats and the so-called deep state, right? Because they've actually had Trump fight off not the press, not just his critics, but people like Andrew Cuomo, Christy Whitmer, and Anthony Fauci. These are all the new foils of contempt for Donald J. Trump, and it's sort of like bringing villains off the bench in the new crisis. So, what do you guys think? Do you think that they're positioning Fauci to run for president? I mean, think about that for a moment. It seems a little far fetched, but look at all the paraphernalia. And would he accept it? Of course he would. He's a little creep. He's a little power hungry creep. Where are they producing all this crap? In China. You got that right. Ouchie Fauci, grouchy Fauci. I love it. Nice one, Susan. Sue 83. Why does Trump capitulate to him? There is a lot of that is a great point. That is a great point, and it feels like that's something that Trump has done a lot of over the course of the last 3 years is capitulation. So I have a thought about that. Okay, and it's linked to something I was talking about last night. So the day 3/11 is a really specific day. If you go back to 3/11/11, that's when Fukushima hit. Now, a lot of people think that Fukushima was just some random, massive, rent in a subduction zone off the coast of Japan, which became a tsunami, which inundated the Daiichi Prefecture, Fukushima, right? The Daiichi reactor in Fukushima Prefecture, whatever it's called. So, but there are other people who believe, and I'm in the boat here. I'm in the boat that a very deep, highly powerful, explosive device triggered the Fukushima tsunami, the earthquake. It was right there on that fault that runs right off the coast of Japan. So I think it was triggered. That's my theory. Okay, that's my theory. It was triggered, and as a result, there was a massive tsunami. It washed everything away. I was transfixed by that event, by the way. And one of the things that people don't know is that the security and a lot of the software activity for Fukushima. Let me just make sure. I'm going to see if I can find this because I like to back up what I say here. Let me try and find this. Mm, so I don't want to open my mouth unless I have. If I can't find it today, I'll bring it back tomorrow. But let me just do a quick search here on this. I don't want to go down this rabbit hole unless I have the full Monty. But I'm looking forward tonight, and if I can find the information tonight, I'll bring it back tomorrow. So we go a couple levels deep on the search. So yeah, okay. But if we go back to 311, when that happened, and by the way, a Wired magazine article just didn't say that I was a crackpot, but my belief around this, it would be considered crackpot. So there's this thing called the Samson option. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that or not, but the Samson option is essentially geopolitical blackmail, and that a specific country in the world would place or has placed small thermonuclear devices at and around each of America's nuclear power plants, who, by the way, are aging badly and having a very difficult time eliminating the waste byproduct of those plants, if indeed it even is radioactive. But let's just say, for the sake of the argument, that it is radioactive. So with those micro nukes, theoretically, being in proximity to these various reactors, there would be the threat of setting those reactors off. This is known as the Samson Project, okay? Samson Project, which I've read about and have known about for many years. So if that was the case, and the reason why I'm bringing the Fukushima piece up and I'm bringing the Samson piece up is that we have 311 as a very, very significant date. Very significant date in that there was a U.S. before 311 and a U.S. after 311. That was the 311 was when the NBA canceled its season. That was the Fukushima. That was the massive seismic event that has changed our country and the world forever. Forever. So could this be why Trump has been in what I would call mode of capitulation? Could this be why he's decided that he has to keep Fauci and Dr. Scarf around? Is that why? Because there's something much bigger that he has to deal with? I don't know. It's worth thinking about. I mean, because there's a feeling here that because I think Trump wants to play both sides. Like, if we go towards a form of nationalization on the heels of this, I don't think he has a problem with that, as long as he's running the show and his business partners and the people that he knows get the contracts and get to run I don't think he has a problem with that, as long as he's on top of that. Okay. So I think to that extent, he would forward that kind of nationalism that we're talking about. But I also think that if it's not going to be his way, if he's going to have to capitulate and basically be a sock puppet for the New World Order, which is the other side of this thing, that he would have to somehow conform and basically do what they tell him to do. Plus, he has his own money and his kids have their own money. I mean, that's one of the tough things about having money, because once you get the money, you've got to be able to hold on to the money. You've got to defend your money. You got to defend your territory. You got to defend your rights. You got to do all that. Well, you should be able to do that anyway. But when you're really, really vested in, all these things of the world, it becomes something that could be compromising. Let's put it that way. So I think that that he could be, playing the game so that he could ultimately, the whole turn the tables thing. I think that's possible, because what else is he going to do? I mean, he's got the media against him. He gave these governors the power. I think, looking back on it, I think that was a mistake on his part. I think that was a mistake because if he wants to roll things out again, and Christy Whitmer from Michigan says, "Screw you, we're going to stay under quarantine," because he's given these governors the power. I think that there's a potential for a real conflict there, massive potential for conflict. So, I would. I would have just called a national state of disaster emergency right off the gate, right out of the gate. I would have just I mean, he should have just really taken power at that point instead of these little creeps like Fauci and Birx, who are leakers, by the way. They're total leakers. Have you seen the Bombard's video, Bombard's body language video, where she's breaking down Fauci and Birx? No, Trump is not stupid. He's not a stupid person. He knows what's going on, but it's just a matter of, can he position himself, or is he even in the position of positioning himself? Maybe he said fuck it, but at the very least he's retweeting the fact that you should fire. Well, fire his ass. Just fire him. That would be incredibly unpopular at this point, though. Very unpopular. Very, very unpopular. Because of the amount of popularity that, but does it really matter? I mean, this is an interesting question. With this, you have to factor in that voting actually counts. But let's say Trump did fire Fauci. We know that there are people that are not going to vote for Trump anyway. They're just not. So firing Fauci will not mean jack shit to them. But what about the people that are kind of conservative in that kind of middle range, the conservative middle range, where he took certain states that the Republicans hadn't taken in a long time, states like Wisconsin, states like Michigan, states like Florida, states like Ohio. Trump won those states. And there were people, working class people, who said, "Oh my God, here's a guy that really might stand up for us," right? And they tilted the vote. And do you think that people in those states that are kind of, on that edge, what if Trump would fire Fauci? Would he turn those votes? Even though we do know elections are rigged anyway. But these are things to think about, right? And what would be the public opinion of him firing Fauci? So here's what has to happen with Fauci. Trump can't do it directly, but Fauci has to have some major hit pieces done on him by credible people. And Tucker, I think, does his best, by the way, Tucker's great. He always says, we've interviewed Dr. Fauci many times, and he is a respectable, he's respectable. He's respected in his profession, and he seems to be a fine person, right? He always couches his stuff like that. Tucker's mastered this thing where he goes really high, really, really high, and there's like this acknowledgement. Then all of a sudden he takes his baseball bat and just goes right to the rib cage, right? Boom. So, somebody starts to need doing hit pieces on Fauci. And not just one, two, three, four. They've got to start showing up. This guy has got his credibility, his record with AZT and the AIDS trials and everything else has got to be front and center, just total front and center. And by the way, Trump should not threaten this guy, Tedros. He should just take the money away, okay? Just take it away. Don't threaten the guy. So I guess maybe you threaten the guy, and maybe because he's done that, Tedros has shown his true colors, which is, grade A asshole. So maybe this was a good thing. So at least, he has exposed himself, right? Now that that's happened, take the money away, reallocate it. But to your point, Chris and Steve, I would tend to agree with that there's got to come a time here over the next few weeks where it's going to get ugly. I mean, if he tries to roll this thing out and get the economy started again, not every state is going to comply. They're not going to comply. Some states will say, screw you, we're going to stay. So now we're going to have, guess what? We're going to have a divided nation. And the other states will be going, and then the people in the states that are not back to work or kind of rolled out, they're going to start to get a little antsy too. And guess what will happen then? Then those states will double down. Let's see what else we have here. So this is another interesting little bit here that CNN had Fauci on. And Fauci did a stated, this is what prompted Trump to retweet that tweet. So check this out. This is from CNN. They've pretty much made Fauci on some level their de facto president. See if I can fire this thing up here. It's coming. It's coming. Come on, Earthlink. Make it happen, Earthlink. Come on, Earthlink. Here we go. All right. Jake Tepper does not like Anthony Fauci, by the way. He does not like. So let me. So there's a showdown coming. There's definitely a showdown coming. Here, so this is what this is Fauci's plan. This is not. This is president. We have two presidents now, apparently, maybe three, if you want to take Pete Gaynor, who's the head of FEMA. We might have three presidents right now: Fauci, Gaynor, and Trump. So here we go. Fauci admits earlier COVID-19 mitigation efforts would have saved more lives. But he was basically telling everybody it was okay, right? Dr. Anthony Fauci said Sunday that calls to implement life-saving social distancing measures faced a lot of pushback early in the U.S. coronavirus outbreak, and that the country is now looking for ways to more effectively respond to the virus should it rebound in the fall. I mean, obviously, you could say logically that if you had a process that was ongoing and you started mitigation earlier, you could have saved lives. Fauci, the nation's top infectious disease expert, told CNN's Jake Tepper on State of the Union. See that right there? When asked if social distancing and stay-at-home measures could have been prevented deaths, which is a bunch of bullshit anyway. Obviously, no one's going to deny that, but what goes into those decisions is complicated. Asked why the president didn't recommend social distancing guidelines until mid-March, about 3 weeks after the nation's top health experts recommended they be put in place, Fauci said, Jake, I've said many times, we look at it from a pure health standpoint. We make a recommendation. Often the recommendation is taken. Sometimes it's not. But it is what it is. We are where we are right now. Now, there's a real... There's a, if I was Trump and I was reading that, that is not what I would call support. The comments from Fauci come a day after a report from the New York Times detailed Trump's administration's missteps. They've been after Trump since he was in office. An administration official separately confirmed to CNN that the government's top public health experts agreed in the third week, blah, 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 blah. Oh, here we go. Anyway, so we've got, hold on, the video here is trying to take over my screen. You guys get the drift, right? You get the drift. So Fauci is the guy giving the State of the Union, and it's not going to be a quick switch back on. It's not going to be a quick switch, according to Fauci, President Fauci. Oh my God. All right, let's see what else we got here. See if there's any other goodies. I'm sure there's plenty of goodies. Let's see. Has anybody gotten their stimulus checks yet? Anybody gotten the stimulus checks yet? I'm not getting one. I'm not getting one. Not getting one. In Michigan, it is now a crime to put your boat in water. How about that? Another gem, another tasty gem from the state of Michigan. If your boat has a motor, it is punishable with a fine and imprisonment. So Michigan is going for it. Christy Whitmer, she is a piece of work, and that's another Soros elected official who is here to take on Trump. Here's what I think of that version of the left. This is what I think, that they absolutely, because every time they've tried to dislodge Trump and get him out, and we can go back and we can basically count all the pieces, or we can put all the pieces in front of us. So the first thing that they tried to do was to rig the Electoral College and to get the delegates to not vote for the Electoral College. That was the first time. That was number one. Then we had Jill Stein, doing this recount. Then they found she started off, and once she started doing the recount, they started to find that there were actually votes that were going to Trump and not away from him. So she stopped the recount. And then very early on, they were talking about impeaching him, even before the inauguration. The inauguration happens, and then the press is on him like a pack of jackals, unrelenting. And then very, very quickly, it's Russian collusion. And he had to deal with the whole Russian collusion thing. And we had Mueller and that whole fiasco. I mean, every day it was Mueller, this person, that person, this person, that person. And the left would always say, that was like Darwinians. That was like Darwinians when they find some weird little species that they've never found before. And they'll say, oh, the fossilized remains of this species were recently uncovered in the remote region of the Urals, and it looks as though that this species might provide us with more clues that would have to do with the intermediary species, or the intermediary leap between man as a reptile and a monkey to becoming a human. I mean, you would see these stories pop up, right? It would be like, look what we found. More evidence. Now, they really never found, or haven't found, the quote unquote missing link, because they won't. They'll never find the missing link, but they find these little things every now and then, and they say, guess what? They're one step closer, or one step closer. This is providing tremendous clues, right? So they would do that with the Russian collusion stuff. They'd have this person, oh, this is it now. We got him now, boy. We got his ass now. Paul Manafort. Oh, we got him now. Roger Stone. Oh, we got him, whatever. Papadopoulos. Oh, we got him now. We got him now. We got him. Stormy Daniels. Got him now. Got him now. Got him now. They just ran these people out. And what happened? Because it was like, yes. Go Mueller, Team Mueller, right? I mean, just all this bullshit. And then what happened? It was like one of those fireworks you get at 4th of July. Like it's like this great kind of like skyrocket thing. You like the fuse, it just doesn't go anywhere. And of course, they were already ramping up the impeachment charges because they had basically rigged the Ukraine thing. so that they could go after him. And then now that didn't work. The impeachment thing. Now we've got this. And at this point in time, the seething fury, anger, and rage that has been building up inside the Democrat, and I'll say Democrat with a K. And again, I'm not a fan of the established right. They're a bunch of fucking sellouts too. But you can just tell that the seething rage, and I see these Twitter, I go on Twitter and I see these tweets from these people, and all they do is obsess about Trump and getting Trump out and killing Trump and all, but it's not just Trump. It's the people that supported Trump. It's the people that are the supposed deplorables, right? They hate them. They hate them. And because they voted for Trump and because they believe in Trump, right or wrong, good or bad, deluded or whatever, doesn't really matter. But because they did, they hate them so much that they will burn this whole fucking country to the ground. They'll burn it to the ground because they will cut off their nose to spite themselves. And they'll say, let's get him out and let's deal with these people at any cost. We don't care. We're just going to burn it all down. You know that's what's happening. You know it. So that's where we are right now. This is the burn it all down moment. You know, and here's what's going to happen if we somehow have an election. Trump will not be able to talk about how great the economy is. He won't be able to talk about how great the employment numbers are because they were great based on their numbers. He won't be able to do that because whoever's going to run for president, it's not going to be the drooler. He'll have to answer to all this coronavirus, kind of coronavirus casualty, which is the economy and theoretically people's lives, and his response. And this, it's not just where we are now, but it's where we're going to be 2 months from now if this thing somehow gets lifted off and people stagger back into the workforce and the businesses that were once there are no longer there, right? It's not going to be like they've done considerable damage, like a wrecking ball to this country. And by the way, if you go and look at Europe does not have the same unemployment numbers as the U.S. does. Europe has continued to maintain, outside of maybe Italy, some semblance of employment, mostly because they're already socialist anyway. But Sweden is like, hey, we're out. We're going to work. We're going to bars. We're going out to eat. Sweden's like, hey, we're doing this thing different. What's the death rate in Sweden? So even though some of these constraints have been placed on other countries as well, clearly the highest and most intense level of constraint has been right here in this country, right here. And now you're going to have the mask specter. You're going to have the mask specter, meaning that that you're not going to be able to be in public without a mask. I mean, that's coming. I mean, unless the switch gets flipped here in about 2 weeks, people in some states are going to be, they won't let you in a store without a mask. It's going to happen. And I say some states because, apparently now this whole thing's been balkanized. So this is ready. This is the next phase here. We're at the precipice now. We're at the precipice of the tilt in the next 7 to 10 days. And I would not be surprised if they pull some other little fucking stunt and blame it on Trump and blame it on everybody else. Oh, the mask thing. I wanted to complete that thought. The mask thing is going to be the new hate speech. And if you actually, what's interesting about the mask as a symbol, right? It covers the mouth, so you can't talk. I mean, it's very symbolic. This mask, it's like you can talk, but you can't really enunciate. You have to talk through the mask. And of course it gets hot in there and everything. I mean, that's really symbolic of, the lack of freedom of speech in and of itself. And if you're not wearing a mask, you'll get you'll get your snitch neighbors, or you get the snitch customers in the store, and you won't be able to be reported for not wearing a mask. It's coming. That is coming. Hopefully it doesn't come. Hopefully. But it seems like that's where these things are headed. This is going to be an important week. And Trump and his super fucking smart little son-in-law, who seems to be regarded as the second coming of Albert Einstein, Benjamin Disraeli, and who knows what else. I don't know. Trying to. What's the guy's name? Sabotage V, right? Sabotage V, Benjamin Disraeli, and Albert Einstein. That's his son-in-law. Maybe his son-in-law's got some good fucking smart ideas to reopen the country. What does Jared think? Hey, Jared, what do you think? Oil prices are going to go up. The holiday at the gas pumps, even though nobody's really traveling, the prices are going to go up because Russia, Saudi Arabia, and the United States have decided that they're going to throttle their production. Okay, so that means that food prices are high. They're going to get higher because the cost of fuel is going to go up. How about that? Take care of business locally. Okay, you got to figure out, where you are, who's around you, who provides what, who does what. Okay, this is a big deal. So you've got to be able to plan. To be able to plan, you got to have some foresight here. You got to have some vision here. All right. Where else? What else we got? Anything else here? Let me just go through. All right. I think that's it for now. Let me check in with you guys, at least on the news side of things. We're going about an hour. Yeah. Let's see what we have here. Let's see just how fast the masks come off in 90-degree weather in July and August. Yes. We all need to ensure food sources. Well, you should start growing food, and you should start getting chickens, and you should start raising food, start raising goats, which I've been having conversations with people. Like, if you want a different world right now, like, you should really start looking at, like, the Crimmies, have done their part in their own way. They've got their little, half acre of paradise in North Carolina. Steve and Chris has sent me some pictures from their garden. It's already stunning, right? But if you want a different life, you better start creating it. Like, waiting around for the new life is not like, if you want to have a more just and fair and creative world, you should start creating it. And I'm just going to be straight up. That means that you're going to have to probably get out of the cities, and you're going to probably have to go to someplace more rural, and you're going to have to start from scratch. And hopefully you don't do it alone, because you're going to need other people. I mean, if you want a solution, that's the solution. And it may be difficult to get deals done right now, but you can still probably get deals done, especially if there's a bit of a window. I had a Zoom call with some of you Chatlanders a couple of weeks ago. And one of the things I suggested was, what if 50 people got together and put $10,000 together? You get $500,000, like, real fast. Okay. And I went and I did searches in states where property prices were less. Like, one of the states I picked was Alabama. I looked at Alabama, and I went to a real estate site in Alabama for land. I put in the amount. I put in the acreage. So I put in $500,000, 100 acres. I had some very nice properties coming up with water access. And some of that was, flat land. Some of it was woods, right? So think about that. You could have 50 people, $10,000 each, you get 100 acres roughly. And there are plenty of states you could do that, like Alabama, West Virginia, Mississippi, where else? Maybe Missouri, depending on which part of Missouri. I mean, these are places that you can go and get some land. And then each person could get, an acre. And then you got 50 acres for common space, growing things, whatever you want to do, right? So there are solutions here, and fortune favors the bold. And I know that there are some people who have actually gone out and done this or in the process of doing it. So if you want to create a new culture and a new world, take steps. And some of you may say, "Oh, geez, I can't do this. My partner's not into this. My husband's not into this, or my wife's not into this, or whatever that story is." I don't know what to say about that. And you could ride this thing out and maybe it'll be okay, but I don't think we're not going back. We're not. So if you want to create a different world, you want to create a different reality, start creating it inside yourself first. And then hopefully you can meet the right people, make the right connections, and then begin to create that new reality in the physical. But we don't have that long. We don't have that much time. Well, I think we'll have a little bit of a window here during the summertime. So if you're going to make some moves, that's what I would do. In the meantime, you know the drill. You just got to take care of yourself. You got to make sure your physical, personal, physical, emotional, spiritual immunity are intact. They're intact. And the worst thing you could do is to give up or give in and become demoralized by the situation. So everybody needs support here. Everybody needs to be able to talk to somebody. I have a client, a friend client, who reached out yesterday and got a reading from me, person in Pennsylvania. And this is somebody that, I've got a personal relationship with, a good friend. And she got on the phone with me and talked with me for well over an hour, right? Well over an hour. And the gist of her conversation was asking me about X, asking me about, and this is somebody who's pretty informed. What do you think of this? What do you think of this? Have you seen this video? What are your thoughts on this? And it was as if she just I think she wanted to have a conversation that she just couldn't have with her peer group or people in her circle. And I was okay with that, right? I was okay with that. And that's where we are right now. I mean, we've got to be able to have these conversations. We've got to be able to talk to each other and make sure that, and this is what I think you guys in Chatlandia have done such a great job. You guys have exchanged email addresses. You've got personal relationships. You call each other, and you may be in different parts of the United States or even the world. And you guys do that. You do it. And this is not the only chat room on YouTube. There are other people that are doing this. And so this is really important. If you're isolated and you don't have a real network to vent or talk your fears through, or, have some potential for real hope, not false hope, fake hope, FOPE. I guess real hope would be rope. That would be kind of a bad acronym, wouldn't it? But I think this is important. Set these things up. There, reach out. Like, hey, can we have a call every now and then? You mind if I just, touch base with you? Sure. Do it. I'd love to hear from you. Right. These are the things that are important, especially as they make us feel more and more isolated. And this is part of our psychic and emotional immunity that we have to build up. You cannot feel alone. Don't ever feel like you're alone. And even in the spiritual sense, you're never alone. You're never alone unless you're one of those NPCs, in which case there's always hope. There's always potential, but you're never alone. There's that still small voice within you. Get quiet. Do something like garden. Oh, I forgot. You can't garden anymore. But besides that, right? Besides that, tune into that. You're not alone. You're never really alone if you really can just drop into that And once you drop into that, it's like, oh, yeah, you're right. Okay. But also there are people, we're put on this earth to help each other. I mean, that's clear. We're put on this earth to help each other. So avail yourselves of that and reach out and help somebody else and allow them to help you as well. Don't stay isolated. That's a real that's a real trap. Hey, I got a real time recommendation for you on the musical tip. There's a station out of San Francisco on the internet called Soma, SOMA.FM. Okay, you can get it on the internet. You can get it on a phone app. This is a great station, really great station. If you like electronic music, if you like shoegazer rock from the late '80s, if you like yacht rock from the '70s, if you like kind of world grooves, this is a great station. I have they have these different. Right now, I have Space Station Soma on, and I just leave this thing on now. And I have a constant 24-hour kind of ambient dub, ambient groove soundtrack at a low level in the background. I love it. It's free. So I'm giving you a nice little tip here to improve the quality of your life. People say, well, what can we do? What can we do? Well, improve the quality of your life. Soma FM. I donated to them. I gave them $20 because I listen. No commercials. There's no commercials. Back in the 80s, I basically divorced myself from television. I stopped watching TV in the. I like there are TV shows and TV series in the 80s that I have no like. I don't know what these things were. I know the names. My parents watched these shows, like that comedy Wings. They loved Wings. I would peek my head. I'd peek my head into the living room, and I'd go back upstairs and do my thing. I didn't watch that stuff. I didn't have a TV in my room. So I was listening to a lot of music. There was no internet, so I was reading a lot, and even later on, when in the '90s, I didn't watch. There were a lot of things in the '90s I didn't tune into. TV series, Jake and the Fat Man, Magnum PI. I missed all this stuff. Not that there was anything worth really watching, but even the '90s, 21 Jump Street and all those shows. I was like Married with Children. I never watched that shit. Never. Then I kind of got more invested in watching more TV, especially when I had to use it as a bit of a distraction for a 7-year period of my life. But now, since nothing's on, especially sports, it's like I'm not even really watching TV anymore. I'm listening to this radio station. And it's really good. It's really, really good. I do tune in every now and then to TV, but it's more like TCM and Tucker Carlson. That's about it. All right. One last check and scan for you Chatlanders. Let's see what's up. Soma FM is awesome. Right on. Ani knows it. Let's see. That's why I like states calling their own closure shots. Let's see. Sonia K. I got Zoom because of AA meetings. It's okay, but nothing like a real meeting. I'd agree. I have an old t-shirt from Soma FM when donated back in the 2000s. Did you watch Dallas, Robert? I'll tell you what. I watched the very first, because Dallas started in the 70s. Dallas started in the late 70s, like around 77 or something like that. And I was an avid TV watcher in the 70s. I could tell you all about 70s TV. And I think I saw the pilot for Dallas. And let's just say I was very taken with Charlene Tilton. Other than that, I did not watch Dallas. I didn't 80s TV didn't happen for me. It was not happening. There was some interesting stuff. Well, I'll tell you what I did watch in the 80s was I watched Max Headroom, which was a very short-lived series. It's kind of a cyberpunk series on ABC. I really liked that. It was produced in England, and Matt Frewer played Max Headroom. I liked Max Headroom. That was interesting. And I'm not ashamed to say that I watched Pee-wee's Playhouse. I thought the first two seasons of Pee-wee's Playhouse were just genius, utter genius. And let's see, anything else I watched during the 80s? No, not much. Not much. And even the 90s, I think I may have watched I think I watched some Star Trek in the 90s. The Picard Star Trek. I think I watched that. And what else did I watch? I really liked that series Nowhere Man with Bruce Greenwood. That was really good. I watched that. But no. And I know there's some good, like, Emily's a real big fan of Fringe and Person of Interest. And so there's a lot of hidden in plain sight stuff out there. But even things like Twin Peaks. I started to watch Twin Peaks, and then it just went off into kind of existential kind of absurdity and nothingness. That was a show in search of an ending. All right, one last pass through here with Chatlandia. Let's see. Living Color. I did watch a little Living Color. Amy Dye says Sharia law. How about Noahide law? Amy, I watched Pee-wee's Playhouse. Pee-wee, that was funny shit, man. Funny shit. Michael Coe, greetings. Not a chat bot. Salubrious. Cheers. Salubrious cheers back. Yeah, Soma FM. Get it. It's free. And yeah, you'll enjoy it. It's a really good bargain. And you can donate to them too. Give them some money, $10. I just have this thing on continuous. All right. Thank you very much for being here today. This has been 15 Minutes of Flame, the Monday edition. I'm Robert Phoenix. I'll be back tomorrow. And, love and respect to everybody who is staying awake and staying vigilant and staying very positive throughout this entire ordeal that we're in. And stay strong and stay flexible and be creative and find ways to create the world that you want to participate in and be a part of a new culture. All right. This is your time. This is my time. This is our time. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to accept what's possible. Until tomorrow, I am Robert Phoenix, and you are you.